You're listening to the Outstanding Life Podcast with your host, Johnny D, the Motivational Cowboy. As a motivational speaker, Johnny D impacts audiences around the world with his message of living the outstanding life. He's a best-selling author, MC, and two-time Grammy-considered artist. This podcast is a place where Johnny D can introduce you to his outstanding friends and share funny, interesting, and heart-provoking stories. Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up. Here comes your host, Johnny D.
Hey everybody, I'm Johnny D, the Motivational Cowboy. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Outstanding Life Podcast. Before we get things kicked off, I want to say a big hello to all my friends tuning in on Dirt Road Radio, KYDT 103.1 FM and KBFS 1450 AM. Today's guest is Tamsen Beroth. And Tamsen, did I get that correct?
It is correct. Thank you.
Awesome. I met Tamsen at the HPX High Performance Expo this year. A lot of my listeners on radio, you guys have heard me talking about it for the last 6 months, and I met her at the expo, and I cannot wait for you to hear her story. Tamsen, welcome to the Outstanding Life Podcast, and I appreciate you taking time on your birthday to hang out with us. So happy birthday to you.
Thank you so much. This is a wonderful opportunity. I really, really appreciate the opportunity to go in and have some, fun and engaging conversation for you and hopefully inspire some of your audience.
Awesome. Hey, Tamsen, let's start from the beginning. What first got you hooked on cars and motorsports?
So growing up, I live in North Carolina, which is very famous for NASCAR, for drag racing, for grassroots marketing with RJ Reynolds. And my father, Wes, was an executive at RJ Reynolds, and he had the most awesome job any individual who loves motorsports and automotive could ever ask for. So he worked with NASCAR, NHRA, monster trucks, golf tournaments, country music, World Cup soccer, boat racing. So as a kid, when I wasn't in school, I was with my parents at rodeos, at racetracks, at marinas, at concert venues, learning grassroots marketing 101, and had so much fun that I knew in the future I wanted to work with people. I wanted to work with the public. I wanted to work with things that were fast. And my parents and the rest of my family has always been very supportive of whatever we wanted to do. They were behind us. And luckily enough, I had the chance to write for Racing for Kids magazine when I was a young girl. I had the opportunity to intern for BMW to run their Ultimate Drive that raises money for the Susan G. Komen Breast Cancer Foundation, and inevitably work in automotive SaaS with an amazing global entity named Tekion. And then I also founded Speedology Lifestyle Solutions during COVID because we wanted to have car shows and serve as a fundraiser to the community. So my first ever car show was right after COVID kind of diminished a little bit with the social distancing. And I had it at one of my community venues. It's the Mount Airy Airport, Surrey County Airport, MWK. And we had a couple of hundred cars, about 1,000 people. We were on the tarmac. We had planes fly in for what they call the $100 hamburger. And we worked with an amazing organization named Mayberry for Paws. This organization, and again, I work with veterans, I work with high school, I work with colleges, I work with adult facilities, but specifically Mayberry for Paws and MWK giving me my first opportunity. They take dogs out of kill shelters, put them on planes, and send them, Johnny, all over the country to rescue centers, foster cares, and forever homes. So that was our first fundraiser, and it was just so memorable that I always tell people that story.
That's incredible. But I want to back up to you being a child. Your mom and dad spoiled the heck out of you. I mean, you being a young girl and being around all these race cars, all these monster trucks, boats. I mean, that's incredible. That is like literally living a cartoon lifestyle for a young kid. I mean, you weren't like literally riding your big wheel around. I mean, you were actually in the vehicles.
Oh, yeah, no, it was high energy. It was full throttle. It was, again, I could not have asked for a better childhood, to your point, with supportive parents, with amazing careers that really wanted to expose me to the fun things in life. Obviously, you work very hard, right?
Yeah.
But the opportunity to meet with cowboys and cowgirls and race car drivers and country music stars and just people that give it their all every day, whom, to your point earlier, there's a passion behind, what you do, whether it's a career or it's a hobby. To be a young girl and be inspired, not just by the cowgirls or the female racers that I had the chance to interact with, it was the supportive men behind the scenes as well. I mean, there's so many stories that we could talk about that, you would need 5 hours with me. But again, my parents being supportive of letting me be out in the public at an early age and encouraging me to make friends, go have fun, try something new. My younger sister, Tana, would go with us as well. She's got a pet sitting company, so she didn't want to go down an automotive or motorsports, career path. But what she does is just as important. But at the end of the day, our parents really gave us the opportunity to allow us to make our own choices, but they wanted us to see the fun things in life. And I'm forever grateful to my parents, Wes and Dixie.
Was there a defining moment when you knew, hey, this is where I belong? This is what I want to do. I call it the aha moment.
The aha moment. Oh, that's a good one. So I have a couple of aha moments, but probably the biggest one was when I was 11 or 12 years old. I had the opportunity to write for Racing for Kids magazine. And having that article published, it really kind of gave me a booster in my confidence, where I had no idea about journalism or interviewing, definitely not a ninja like you are. But as a kid, you just ask obvious questions. You ask sometimes the most truthful things that come to your mind. To your point earlier, what made you do it? Why do you continue to do it? And it's just the fun, the exhilaration, but also the discipline. I think a lot of kids these days, they know that in order to succeed, you need to work hard. And I think that needs to be a constant reminder of anyone that we talk to in any of the industries, racing, automotive or pharmaceuticals, whatever that may be. Hard work does pay off. So the aha moment, that comes first to mind was definitely when I got to write my first article for Racing for Kids magazine. It just showed me that you don't have to be behind the wheel. You can be behind the scenes, or both. Amen.
I love that. Hey, what was your first car? And did you have a nickname for your car?
I did. So it was a 1984 Mercedes-Benz 190E turbo diesel. It was gold with tan interior. My mom and dad found it from someone that they went to church with. And the lady that owned it literally only drove it to church on Sundays. It had like 18,000 miles on it. It was pristine. And I called it Goldie.
Is there a reason besides the car was gold, but was there another reason why you called it Goldie?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't. It was the first thing that came to mind.
Tamsen, who were your biggest influences or mentors growing up, inside or even outside the automotive world? I know that your mom and dad were great mentors to you, but besides your mom and dad, was there other people that were in your life that helped you along the way, or maybe coached you or kicked you in the butt when you needed it?
Yeah, so there's a couple of people who directly influenced me, and there are some folks that I've had the privilege and honor of meeting recently that when I was younger, I followed, I looked up to, and there's a few that I'll name. So I love exotic, import, domestic drag racing, whether it's eighth of a mile, quarter mile, or a half a mile. So the first person that I'll talk about is Lisa Kubo. And Lisa Kubo is an OG in the import drag racing world. She's down in Florida. I got to meet her at SEMA many, many years ago and just get an autograph. And, you're in awe of someone at SEMA, right? There's so much going on. But she's so kind. She's so sweet. She, back in the day, had her Honda that she would drag race. So again, Lisa Kubo, definitely a shout out to her. And I've recently got to spend some time with her in person, along with my dear friend, Julie. And Julie and her husband, Sam Madavi, on Sam's Garage. They're on Motor Trend. They recently just acquired Nobi Nationals. Well, part of that is, so Nobi Nationals for everyone in the Atlanta market. It's coming back middle of September. So go check out Nobi Nationals. But with Lisa and Julie, we're bringing back something, and I'm a partner in Nopi. We're calling it Nopi Chic, not Nopi Chick. So we're bringing back Nopi with Lisa Kubo, and we're actually focusing on the women who race the cars, build the cars, tune the cars, support from being a spouse of, a male driver who may build carbon fiber parts or do the oil changes or help transport cars. So number one, is definitely Lisa Kubo, along with my dear friend, Julie Madavi. Next, I've got to talk about Cindy Sisson. And obviously, you know Cindy Sisson and Alba Cologne, who I'll get into. But
yep.
Cindy, I've known pretty much my entire life. She worked with my dad via RJ Reynolds from Ray-Ban, Gatorade, golf tournaments. She's just, her enthusiasm, her excitement is just infectious. And with Cindy Sisson, she's the executive director for WIMNA, which is Women in Motorsports North America. So if you don't know about them, you definitely need to check them out. And she's just a go-getter. She's a no apologies kind of gal. And she definitely advocates for, again, women behind the steering wheel, behind the cars, the marketing, the promotion, the engineering. It's just the way that she is able to have such a large audience. And there's still people that need to know about her and WIMNA. And obviously with WIMNA comes, you talk about some other inspirations. Definitely, you can't go without saying, you've got Beth Peretta, who was the first ever female to own a Indy team.
I love her. She is an inspiration. I mean, even for me, she is incredible. Had the opportunity to interview her multiple times. She is just, and you know what? She is like the girl next door. You can just sit down and have a conversation with her. But you don't realize what she has accomplished.
Yeah, well, I mean, most people don't know she was the former head of SRT, which is Dodge Motorsports.
Yes, I know. It's crazy.
Yeah, she was the first female director at a major manufacturer in motorsports. That is epic. That is huge. And she had the first women-led team that participated in Indy 500 a couple of years ago. So
yep.
you can't talk about sheroes and heroes in automotive and motorsports without Beth Peretta. And then obviously, Lynn St. James. Everyone knows Lynn St. James. I mean, she was the first woman ever to win Rookie of the Year with the Indy 500 in 91, 92. So, I mean, she competed at Le Mans, Daytona, Sebring. I could go on. So, again, those are some really, really special names to me. They're trailblazers. And then, obviously, Alba Cologne. She's just an inspiration. And I know you know Alba. Obviously, she's part of WIMNA, but she's the Hendrick Motorsports Director of Competition Systems. That is just, a feat in itself. And Hendrick is best in class. If you want to win, you're going to go to Hendrick if you're in NASCAR, obviously. And her influence over not only her teammates, the race car drivers, the engineers, the mechanics, the guys that run the dyno, the guys that handle, the new braking systems. I mean, she's just so well engaged and so supportive that she's probably one of the most, if not the most respected woman that I know in motorsports.
100%. I've known her for almost 30 years. I mean, it is crazy. This is an industry that's historically male dominated. What early barriers did you face when you were coming through the ranks of doing all this stuff, in motorsport? What are some of the things that you had to overcome? Because there are girls out there and guys out there right now that says, well, you know what? I don't know if I can get into it. You don't realize everybody at the shop are guys. How do I walk in there as a girl and want to do that? What are some of the barriers that you had to overcome?
Well, it's kind of two-sided for me because, as I mentioned earlier, running account management department for Tekion, being a global automotive SaaS organization, there aren't very many females that are in management positions. There's more recently, but when it comes to running a department for an automotive SaaS company and or creating a motorsports specialty events company that I did with Speedology, you're going to find resistance. And the best thing to do is to embrace it and almost try to counteract it. And when I say that, I mean the people that are the folks that kind of want to disrupt your destiny. They want to interrupt your success. I almost welcome it as a challenge because despite the thoughts that, people think that negative interactions are going to diminish you or they're going to somehow create a setback for you, I think they're actually motivation. And I think they help you manifest your destiny even better, and they help you see your success even sooner. Men and women get told no all the time. And, in business, usually you get told 7 to 11 times no before you get a yes, right? So when it comes to persistence, that's the biggest thing for me is you never want your first engagement, whether it be negative or, confrontational or uncomfortable. That's just a test run. That's just like a test and tune if you're thinking about the track. The interactions that I have.
I love it. I love that.
Well, it is a test and tune if you think about it, right?
100%. I love it. I couldn't put it into better words than what you just said. I never looked at it that way, but that's brilliant.
Yeah, but to really answer the question for barriers, that they happen. I don't have any specifics that, I would call out, but I just know I get told no, from time to time, and I'm okay with that. It just creates the opportunity for me to challenge it and inevitably to likely prove someone wrong and hopefully win them over.
The one thing that I really respect about you, Tamsen, is, yes, I did meet you at the High Performance Expo, and getting to know your story now even a little bit more is you were inspired by other people, and now you are inspiring others. And I want you to talk a little bit about on Monday at the High Performance Expo, you were part of the Women's Empowerment Summit, and you were on a panel with other ladies, and you probably had 40 to 60 other ladies there, and you were empowering them. What was that like for you to now be the person inspiring others to continue their life in the automotive industry?
So the Women's Empowerment Summit, again, what an amazing time. It was something that Dr. Jamie Meyer, whom I have the utmost respect for, along with the rest of his team, Dana and Pamela, we really wanted the opportunity to have a meeting of the minds, if you will, and a chance to express our experiences. And Women's Empowerment Summit, obviously it was an inaugural HPX.
Yep.
So looking forward to next year. But with the women on the stage, Alba Cologne that we mentioned, and Kendra and myself, we really had the opportunity to share our experiences, but the audience feedback was amazing. I don't know if you were part of the audience, but Ryan Cheek was in the audience along with Cindy Sisson and Alba Cologne and some others. And we were celebrating her because yesterday she was running Pikes Peak in an open wheel category, right? So not just the panelists getting to speak, but the audience getting to tell their stories that were just as important and just as impressive. So again, huge shout out to Ryan Cheek for, her second go at Pikes Peak for the open wheel category. The panel that we put together, and Shannon Vogel, who was our moderator, did an amazing job. She's so supportive. She really allowed us the opportunity to talk about overcoming barriers. We talked about Kendra has something called Honey Badger Energy, which we love. But the biggest thing for me was hearing the stories of the audience going back to being told no, or to your point earlier,
yes,
being the only motorcycle drag racer or open wheel racer or someone that owns a team that they get told no a lot. And that's okay. I feel like that is motivation. So Women's Empowerment Summit, I could talk about this forever, Johnny. It was an honor. It was a privilege to be on that very first inaugural panel. I'm looking forward to growing that with Dr. Meyer and his team for next year, and obviously with your support. But I can't tell you how special it is to have a room of females. And we had some men in the room as well. We actually had a karting owner up from New Jersey that's wanting to work with some of us, which is amazing.
I didn't know that. You know what's funny? I was there on Monday. I flew in early, and I was gonna pop into the room, but I told Elba this. I was so scared to walk into a room of 60 women when it was called the Women's Empowerment Summit, because I didn't want to be that guy, right? Because I knew it would be incredible. And Elba's like, you should have came in. There was other guys there, and I didn't know. And I'm listening to you right now talk about it, and I can't wait for the High Performance Expo 2026. And I'm not just saying that. there is something special going on here. And it was so cool to be a part of that first one. Tamsen, some people have not been to an expo and they think, well, why would I go to an expo? What would you tell the men and women that are on the border of going to any expo? I mean, HPX, High Performance Expo in Charlotte, North Carolina, is incredible. And it's going to be even more incredible next year. I want people to go, but I want them to go because I don't think people realize how much business takes place when you have all the decision makers in one room.
No, and actually that's a really great point. And I'll leave people with this initial thought. It's almost like the intersection of automotive lifestyle, if you will, motorsports, and I'll even say philanthropy. And the reason I bring that up is you've got some powerhouse companies and you've got some amazing trailblazers in both motorsports and automotive that are working together to make the industry better. So what better way than to go to a convention center where everyone is together, the energy is high, there's tons of interest in where the industry is going, but it's also looking for collaboration. It's looking for community. It's looking for more representation amongst females, the next generation of, and I'll go here real quick. So with HPX, they had local universities that were there on site to talk with. Thursday, for everyone that didn't know, was Free Enthusiast Day, which was the halls were packed, if you remember.
Yep.
And just specifically, I work with, out of Matthews, North Carolina, Central Piedmont Community College. They're tied in with some motorsports and automotive initiatives. And I also work with the president, Bob Kessler, and his team at UTI, Universal Tech Institute in Mooresville, North Carolina. They had their recruiters there. They did not get a break. They were having meetings and conversations and presentations and scheduling school visits the entire expo. And the reason I bring that up is specifically for whether it's someone in high school, someone in college that's looking for a fun career path. There is money to be made. There is travel to be had by folks who are looking at, again, motorsports or automotive or even aviation. Like I mentioned to you, they may be into HVACR or 3D printing or biochemistry. There's so many things that are intertwined with motorsports and automotive that literally it could be a War and Peace novel worth of career opportunities that these schools can present, not only to high school or, students in college, but also adults who may be looking for a new career path. And
I was just going to say, I met so many men and women that were there just to talk to other people because they were sick of their job and they wanted to do something different. And they're like, hey, listen, I'm passionate about racing and I just want to go see if there's an opportunity there for me. It was awesome.
Agreed. And I'll tell you, with HPX and with what Dr. Meyer has done, it's really blending a passion for cars, in my opinion, with purpose-driven community. There's action behind their words. It isn't just a big show. I love SEMA. I love PRI. But with HPX being in my backyard in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the momentum that it's already shown, next year is going to be unbelievable. I hope people are already, scheduling travel. They're already looking at booth space because I can tell you with the vendors that I work with that are either sponsors of mine, they're partners of mine, they're brand new relationships. Everyone had meaningful conversations. And a lot of the booths said that they had done more business at that show than they had done in a year. So that's a testament to HPX and the future that it holds for the industry and specifically for the Carolinas.
And you guys can go to thehpx.com for more information.
Don't worry, we'll get right back to the Outstanding Life podcast with Johnny D, the Motivational Cowboy, right after this message. So, you need a dynamic, interesting, audience attention-grabbing speaker for your conference. You need Johnny D, the Motivational Cowboy. Your event attendees will get the life-changing solutions and contagious energy they need to live their best lives. Whoever your audience is, from children at school assemblies to seasoned professionals at corporate gigs, Johnny D delivers. Book Johnny D, the Motivational Cowboy today at motivationalcowboy.com.
Tamsen, I have to ask you this. You were talking about racing and over and over again about the cars and working on the cars. But do you ever get behind the wheel and race your own cars, or do you ever work on your own cars yourself?
Yes, occasionally.
So you will get behind the wheel and go drag racing or whatever it may be?
Oh, yeah. So my husband and I, we met cruising in High Point in 99.
Now, for those of you that don't know, High Point is in North Carolina, correct?
Correct. So
yeah,
back in the day, so people know like American Graffiti or Dazed and Confused. And what would you do on a Friday and Saturday night? You would cruise, right?
Yeah.
So we had Main Street that we literally would Friday night, Saturday night, you just cruise. You may go to Cookout and get a hot dog and a milkshake, but you're obviously looking for, your potential partner, right? So long story short, Brian and I met because he was riding with one of his friends and I was riding with one of my friends. They liked each other, so Brian and I got stuck together. That was 25 years ago.
Tamsen, who had a nicer car, you or your husband?
Is he going to hear this podcast? Probably. At the time when we met, I had a BMW 328i with focal wheels and lowering springs and a sound system. And he had a Honda Accord with iBox springs, some Racing Heart wheels. Actually, I'd say we were probably equivalent. Like his was super clean and mine was, a little less clean, but I think equal at that time.
I love how politically correct you were throughout the answer to that question, because you went from, is my husband going to hear this, to you saying that you had a nicer vehicle, and then it got to, they were equal. I like how politically correct you just got.
Well, and it's actually the truth. Brian and I we partner in crime, soulmate. He's just the best thing that's ever happened to me. And I hope he thinks the same of me. All we have are cars and chihuahuas. So what I have now is a Boost Logic built by Collab in Atlanta, Georgia on Motec. It's a Nissan GTR, an R35. So we're 1,000 plus horsepower, and I love to half mile race. So when I get to go play, I love going to airstrips and doing half mile events. So the cool thing about half mile events are you're on a runway, you're seeing planes, you're seeing a lot of other diverse, you might see a Camaro and you may see an Aventador go back to back. It's crazy, the cars that'll go half mile race. It's a lot easier on the drivetrain, your axles, your diffs, because you're not launching the car. You're just kind of stoplighting it and full throttle. So you'll run over 200 miles an hour. And my friends over at Underground are running 240 plus in Lamborghinis. It's insane. Casey and Kevin have probably one of the most impressive platforms built in the motorsports space for half mile racing. So huge shout out to them, because they definitely put on a show and have some world records.
And then you have to stop the darn thing.
You do.
Wow.
Well, and you've got carbon ceramic brakes. So, you got parachutes. You've got all the safety, right? And that's probably the biggest thing that I didn't plan on mentioning, but I will, is to go fast is an exhilarating thing, but to be safe about it is more important. I've had
Amen.
A couple of losses of some really dear friends of mine that really lived on the edge. And if there's one thing I can convey, it's if you want to go fast, that's great, but please think about the safety equipment, the parachute, the roll bar, the Hans device, your seat belts, your suits, your shoes, checking everything over 3 times. Again, one thing I can convey to your audience is racing is a blast. And sometimes it's not about how fast you actually win. It's being able to go home to your family.
100%. Tamsen, if you could take any car from any era on a long road trip, what would it be, and who would be riding shotgun with you?
Ooh, that's a good one. At HPX, you saw one of my friends' vehicles on display, my dear friend Mandy and Daryl. So they have a murdered out 2022 Audi RSQ8.
Oh, yes. Oh, that was sweet.
Yeah, and it's, I think, 880 horsepower with a tune. It's sick. So it would probably be cross country in a tuned 900 horsepower would be comfortable. RSQ8. It would be with Brian and our Chihuahua Roxy. And I would probably have a trailer with one of my cars or his cars. So if we wanted to stop off at a drag strip or a runway and do some racing, I think that would be my answer.
Tamsen Beroth, let me ask you this. What is a car you always dreamed of owning but haven't yet?
That's a really great question. It's on the way. I'm working on it right now.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So Brian and I grew up with, obviously 99 Fast and Furious came out, right? So the first and second installments really had an emphasis on the imports, but most people will remember Paul Walker, who was an amazing Gone Too Soon individual, and the R34 Nissan Skyline. There's a few that we have local around the Carolinas that Brian and I have been looking at, but it's definitely something that's on my radar to have in the garage pretty quickly. Whether it's the Bayside Blue or it's the base white, I definitely can tell you we're going to have a Nissan Skyline R33, R34 here, soon to our stable.
Well, I mean, it is your birthday. So, I mean, maybe after this podcast, you walk outside and maybe, you have Brian has a bow around your car for you.
That would be the dream.
I'm just putting it out there, right?
Yeah, for sure.
What really excites you most about the future of motorsports or even the automotive technology part of things?
Well, it's all exciting. It's all constantly changing and it's evolving and it's making things a lot easier for the consumer, which I think is important. And it's offering as much information as someone wants to gather, whether it's ChatGPT, it's a Google search, it's brochures at the dealership, it's going to the racetrack and getting an autograph session with one of your drivers and just having a few minutes to chit chat. I think just the increased exposure. So to long-winded answer your question, I think the opportunity to learn as much as you possibly want at your pace will help the industries as a whole continue to get better and hopefully invite more folks to want to participate, whether it's, buying a newer car sooner than anticipated, or it's going to their very first NHRA race or NASCAR race, or going to go see a monster truck event. I think people should,
or a figure eight, or a bus race, or yeah. I couldn't wait to ask you this question. I want you to dig deep. What's something about your journey that most people don't see or know about you?
Obviously, I like to be behind the scenes a lot, and I like to just do good for the community. So a few years ago, I wasn't feeling well and went through some tests and found out I had colon cancer. And decided, at that moment, the doctor was like, hey, why don't we have, quick surgery and we'll figure out the next steps. And I was like, you know what? I actually want to go race. And then can we schedule the surgery? So one of my oldest, dearest friends, David Busher, up in Wakeman, Ohio, we had a half-mile event in Indiana, like the week after I found out my diagnosis. So I called David. I was like, hey, here's what's up. And he's like, oh, you're going to be fine. And I told him I totally agreed. And he said, come race with me. So long story short, I love to stay behind the scenes, but when life kind of throws you a curve, like you have to take into consideration what you want to do before you think things could change. So I'm a big advocate for screening because you may or may not know, and your audience may or may not know, colon cancer is the most silent, deadliest cancer out there. So It's not fun to talk about, but if anyone goes and gets themselves checked out, if you've got family history with any lower area cancer, go get screened for me. It would mean a lot. And if I could help someone take care of themselves before things got a little too sideways for them, that would be my biggest accomplishment.
I didn't know that. And thank you for sharing that story. I mean, just like you said, I mean, that is personal, and I appreciate you sharing that. So I'm glad that you beat it. You know, let me ask you this then. What do you do to recharge and stay positive? I mean, the reason why I connected, I think, with you is you are so outgoing and so positive. But being a positive person myself, I know that I have those times that you have those low times. What do you do to recharge and for you to stay positive?
I've got a really great family and a even more inspirational group of friends. I really think for me, it's to always have something to look forward to. It's not the downtime. I'm always thinking about the next show, the next race, the next rally, the next fundraiser. And my support system is it's unbelievable. I wouldn't trade some of these people for, anything in the world, but obviously my parents, my sister, my friends, Brian. To answer the question, I really don't slow down or decompress. I try to find new inspiration of ways that I can help, whether it's a fundraiser car show, it's working with Alba and Cindy on creating the WEMNA chapter for Charlotte. It's going to HPX and supporting seminars like Women Empowerment. It's attending SEMA and seeing the next best thing. It's speaking at Women in Automotive based off of my experience to represent Tekion. I'm always going and doing, and I kind of feel like now's not the time to slow down. I feel like it's time for full throttle.
You are so dead on when you say that. And folks, what Tamsen just said, she literally lives and breathes what she just said. And here's what I mean. I'll never forget when I asked you to come on the podcast and stuff like that, and we talked about it. And this is what you said to me. And I don't even know if you remember, because you're probably like this with everybody, right? Because that's who you are. You said, "Hey, thank you. I'd love to, share my story, but how can I help you, Johnny? What can I do to help you?" And not too many people say that. And that's who you are. You really want to help others. And that's something I want you to know how much I appreciate you saying that to me. And I just think that is incredible. And it's not just lip service. You really live and breathe that philosophy. And I just want to say thank you.
No, well, and I appreciate you bringing that up. And genuinely, I mean that for anyone that gives me energy, I'm going to give it back. If you're here for the right reasons and supporting the right cause, and we're aligned on the mission, you're absolutely going to get 100% from me. And I feel the same from you. And again, some other folks that we've already talked about at length today that are just movers and shakers and trailblazers. I appreciate you bringing that up, because there's quite a few people in this space that really stand out to me, and I'm sure you, that really are 100% in, and there's nothing else that they want to do. So thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you always been this outgoing, or is this something you had to learn how to be?
No, always. Growing up, again, if you're at a racetrack, you have to be loud. You have to be heard, right? You have to be seen. So the way you dress, the way you speak, the way you carry yourself, I love bright colors. I like to connect with people. I like to learn their stories, because, again, if I put time into someone, it's because I see there's, again, a good vibe. There's some connectivity. And you never, ever know what that relationship could blossom into. And I'll tell you, I have a really good friend of mine, Dave Perno, that owns an automotive group in Richmond, Virginia. And Dave told me, very successful gentleman, he and his wife, Kathy, are awesome. He said, you treat the janitor the same as you treat the CEO. And that's a true testament of your character. And I'm sure people have heard that in the past, but I've known Dave for a very, very long time, and he's one of my mentors that I look up to in the automotive, industry. And it just goes to show that you never know who you're going to meet on the street. You never know who you're going to meet at the track. And you probably have as much engaging conversations with race fans when you're, at Pocono, or you're at Watkins Glen, or you're at Daytona or Talladega, right? You never know what that person may tell you, because they may be your next inspiration.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because that's the truth. Even with me being at the track, with NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA races, it's one of those things. I think that, I'm just there. I'm just entertaining. I'm just there interviewing the drivers, but fans come up every single weekend and just thank me. And they're like, you're the first person that we come and see when we're at the track. We're the first thing that we do when we're at the track. And those are the things that mean so much to me, is when people can see that I'm real and I want to hear their stories and I want to talk to them and I want to do a great interview. And I'm not asking the same questions every weekend to the drivers. And, it is entertainment, but it's entertainment that I actually care about. And it's a compliment, right? So yeah, I do understand. Let me ask you this. What does leadership look like to you in this space nowadays? Leadership
is definitely, it's a privilege and an honor to be in a position where people listen to you. They want to work with you. They want to sponsor you. They want to, potentially do a partnership. So for leadership, I think it's obviously you've done something in the past, just like yourself with where you're at with your motivational, your podcast, your speaking engagements, your just overall inspiration. I kind of feel like leadership right now was earned through a lot of hard work, but it doesn't stop. It becomes more important to do the right thing by as many people as possible, to continue to preserve a legacy that you want your family and your friends to be proud of.
I love it. You've helped so many people throughout the years. Do you have a story of somebody coming to you and saying, hey, you know what? Thank you. You motivated me. You inspired me. Or maybe you didn't even know that and you found out later on. Do you have one of those stories?
I actually have a recent one.
Can you share it with us?
Absolutely. So with the inaugural HPX, High Power Expo that we had in Charlotte, North Carolina earlier this month, being on the panel, Shannon and Dr. Meyer and Dana asked, do you have any special guests that you would like to invite? And I said, absolutely. And there's a young lady, her name is Hannah. And Hannah is the social media manager at GMP Performance in Atlanta. GMP Performance also has a shop in Charlotte and in Lake Norman, North Carolina. They just celebrated, Johnny, their 50th anniversary.
Love it.
A performance shop, 50th anniversary. Put that into context. That doesn't happen. Long story short, Phil, his daughter Hannah, I reached out to Stephen, the owner, and said, I would love to invite Hannah to be in the audience and just witness this movement. That we've got some inspirational women, some racers, some just legends that are going to be in this room that I want her to meet. So she was able to come. I got the chance to give her a shout out during our engagement. And she actually stood up at the end because we had some Q&A. And Hannah, she's 16 years old, and she is just inspirational. She's great with social media. She's building a GTI with her dad. So something recent that happened for me was being able to have Hannah there and let her engage with supportive men and women that were in the same room, that heard her. They saw her. They want to help her. And she was absolutely just embraced by everyone in the room. So that literally just happened.
That's incredible. I have a couple of social media questions that I have to ask you. What is it about cars that speak to your soul? Is it the sound? Is it the speed, the design, or maybe all of it?
It's definitely all of it, but it's the story behind it. I love when I hear about, built, not bought. I want to know the story behind, like I have a friend in China Grove that has a Grand National, a GNX. And, I know growing up, those are just badass cars, right?
Yeah.
So, and then you think about like Supras or NSXs or Integra Type Rs, or my dad was a big Chevelle guy. My mom was always she had little cute convertible Triumphs. So and my grandmother, she had a couple of split window Corvettes. So, and my grandfather, he actually had a Cadillac Alante, right? I remember people buy their cars. I remember the stories being told about when they bought it, who they bought it for. Did they modify it? Obviously, newer people, with newer cars are going to talk more about the modifications. But I always correlate someone, because I have so many car shows and the races and the rallies that I put on, is we always want to celebrate that, because people put money and time and energy into these cars, whether it's for their own personal, just satisfaction and happiness, or they're doing it with their spouse or their father or their uncle or their neighbor. Just everything about the cars means equally to me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%.
And I can tell you, when we have these car shows, when we have these rallies, and again, for anyone in the Carolinas, if you visit Speedology Lifestyle Solutions on Facebook or Instagram, we're going to start posting some of our holiday rallies that we do around the Charlotte, Winston-Salem, Greensboro area. And we work with some amazing partners, Johnny, and we do some fun things. But again, it all goes back to the story about the car.
I love that. And I'm glad you brought that up again, because I was just going to bring that up. But I want everybody to also know that when you go to one of your rallies, that it is family friendly, it's dog friendly. I mean, it's a movement, right? I mean, you even look at the pictures, you can tell it's different than other rallies. And I just think that it's very, very important for people to know when they come to one of your shows that it is pet friendly, but most importantly, it's family friendly.
It absolutely is. Obviously, dog friendly for the most part, right? But always family friendly. So what I'll give a little insight to your audience is, again, everything that Speedology and Tamsen represent is a community give back. We work with, again, we've mentioned Central Piedmont Community College, Universal Tech Institute. In China Grove, North Carolina, we actually shut down Main Street for a couple of events for a free community event called Hometown Horsepower. Holly and Jason Overcash, they own Grove Cartel Brewing and Meadows Restaurant, and they are just some of the best partners that anyone could ask for. And in November and December, we do a couple of rallies. So when we say rallies in my world, it's literally you launch from a certain destination to get to a final meetup spot. You may have 20 or 30 or 40 cars. It could be import, domestic, exotic. We welcome everything. But we literally fundraise for a few different organizations. And if anyone has any interest, I can tell you, Fostering Faith Foundation out of Clemens, North Carolina, Tiffany Birdsong, she's been helping children that are in the foster care network that have come from some pretty traumatic life situations throughout the year, Johnny. Backpacks, beds, socks, Christmas toys, calculators, glasses, shoes, anything that we may take for granted. She's got this amazing organization that one of our rallies last year we had with Foreign Cars Italia in Greensboro and Charlotte. That's Ferrari, Maserati, Porsche, amazing organization. We literally had 2 launch points where 50, 60 cars all met at a mutual location. It was actually at a vineyard in Gold Hill last year, and we're going to go back to Grove Cartel Brewing Company this year. And we had over 250 Christmas toys that we had donated.
That's awesome.
And then we have another one in December, again, for local folks around the Carolinas, look it up. We work with Rowan County Shop with a Cop. Jason and Holly are very heavily into the community, and we literally raise money, but we really are trying to find those toys that not only for the children that are in need, but also their siblings, right? And you got to think about the parents too.
Tamsen, you're incredible. What kind of legacy do you hope to leave behind in this industry?
I want to be remembered as a purist. I love the automotive and the motorsports industries equally. It's been my passion. It's been my career path. It's literally been something I've done my entire life. And I want to just be remembered that I gave back to the community in a fun and fast way and really strived to shed light for, to your point earlier, the next generation of people that want to pursue an opportunity. Let me help you in automotive or motorsports.
Tamsen, this has been an incredible conversation, but I have one more question for you. And what does living the outstanding life look like to you?
Having no regrets, making the best of every day, truly investing in your friends and your family, and finding just happiness. It doesn't have to be with cars. It doesn't have to be with boats. It doesn't have to be with gardening. Whatever your jam is, own it, and people that love you will support you in it. So I'm just very, very lucky to have the chance to spend some time with you and talk about it. And hopefully it really brings some happiness to your listeners. And it really shows them that there's so much out there that they maybe don't know about that you and I can hopefully provide some exciting insight.
I just can't thank you enough for taking this last hour and hanging out with me here on the Outstanding Life podcast. Any final thoughts?
I just want everyone to make sure that they follow you, because I believe in your messaging. I believe in what you're trying to accomplish. I'm very, very supportive of your being out in the public and giving people a opportunity to speak and listen. And again, just very, very thankful for the opportunity. Again, reach out, Speedology LLC, Speedology Lifestyle Solutions, Tamsen Beroth on LinkedIn. I just appreciate the platform. It's an exciting time for anyone in automotive and motorsports. And I really feel like the more we talk about it and the more we connect with each other, the better off the industries as a whole will be.
Tamsen, again, I can't thank you enough for joining us on the Outstanding Life podcast. I'm Johnny D, the Motivational Cowboy, telling you, be safe, have fun, and have yourself an outstanding day. We'll see you next time right here on the Outstanding Life podcast. Hey, I'm Johnny D, the Motivational Cowboy. Let me ask you, are you planning a conference, convention, meeting, assembly, or any live event that needs a guest speaker? Man, I would love to be a part of it. For more information, visit motivationalcowboy.com. And don't forget to check out my Outstanding Life podcast every Saturday morning at 6 a.m. right here on Dirt Road, KYDT 103.1 FM. I'm Johnny D, the Motivational Cowboy, telling you, be safe, have fun, and have yourself an outstanding day.
Thanks for listening to the Outstanding Life podcast. Follow Johnny D on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Motivational Cowboy. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest on the show, advertise, or would like to make a donation, please visit motivationalcowboy.com. And remember to have an outstanding day.